Hi there, I'm Nancy Nash with Starfish Strength, and today I want to give you a dynamic warm-up that you can do before your workouts or before your day. For equipment today, all I'll be using is a sturdy chair with no wheels, but I do want to make sure that I've got enough room to make a standing snow angel in all directions. And as always, make sure you've got your water handy. So dynamic just basically means that we're going to do moving stretches. And we'll go through these twice, so don't worry if you miss something on the first round. So starting out, I'm going to bring the feet just a little wider than hip width, and then I'm going to turn and reach across my body. So when I'm doing this, I'm trying to stretch the back and the shoulders. You can see I'm turning my feet a little bit. I should feel this in the hips. If you start feeling anything uncomfortable as we're going through this, make sure that you just make those motions a little smaller for yourself. But if you're feeling pretty limber and you just need a warm up, then feel free to make those motions much bigger. And I'm just going for maybe 16 to 20 of these. It doesn't have to be a perfect set. The goal is just to warm up all the major muscle groups. So keeping that wider than hip width stance, I'm gonna bring the arms up. So I'm like in the beginnings of a jumping jack. And then I'm just gonna turn and reach one hand down towards the outside of my hip. Now again, I can let my feet turn and rotate a little bit. Now I should feel this a little bit more into the lower back. I should feel this a little bit maybe in the back of my legs. You can let your feet turn a lot or a little. If you do find any tension in your knees, make sure you let the feet turn just a little bit more. We shouldn't have any pain while we're doing this. We're gonna go back into that turn and reach across. So this time I'm going to think about keeping the hand a little closer to right in front of my chest. So rather than reaching forward, I'm going to emphasize that I'm reaching kind of right in front of my chest in that plane of motion so that I really get that stretch on the whole shoulder cap. I can feel that stretch between the shoulder blades, maybe in the neck a little bit. You can always look in the direction that you're stretching, and that will take a little bit of the tension off of the neck. And then again, if I'm feeling really limber, then I might move just a little bit more. I'm going to move my hips more. I'm going to turn the foot more. So keeping that wider than hip width stance, I'm going to bring the arms up. So I'm like in the beginnings of a jumping jack, and then I'm just going to turn and reach one hand down towards the outside of my hip. If I'm really tight today, maybe I'm just gonna make little reaches. I'm gonna bring my hands further down towards my shoulders. That's okay too. But if I'm feeling really limber, then I might even reach down towards the knee. So always doing what feels good in your own body, in your own capacity. Remember, the goal is to feel really good after this. All right, so hopefully you're already feeling a little bit warmed up. Now we want to grab our chair. I'm going to position my chair in front of me so I've got the chair back handy, and I'm going to position my feet in a lunge. So I want to make sure that my feet are relatively straight, that my ankles are about hip distance, and then I want to slightly pull my belly button in as I bend that front knee, and I should get a pretty good stretch down the back of the leg. Now, the more I really draw that belly button in, I should feel it in the front of the hip, and you might also feel it in the inner thigh on the front leg. And I really want to focus on keeping the ankle, knee, and hip in a nice straight line here, so I don't have any tension on the sides of that front knee. I don't have any pain in my knee. If you do find that this is painful in the hips, the back, or the knees, just shorten your stance a little bit and then let yourself try that again. The muscles just need to warm up a little bit more. So go ahead and let yourself switch to the other side. So making sure my feet are straight, making sure I'm kind of pulling the belly button in as I bend that front knee and getting a really good stretch down that back leg, getting a good stretch in the front of the hips, and maybe on the inner thighs as well. Most of us do have a tighter side. We do have a dominant side. So we're really just kind of working towards equilibrium, trying to get everything warmed up and feeling good. So holding onto my chair, I'm going to stand on the strength of one leg with a little bend in the knee and then turn back and forth through the hips. So I should feel this in both hips, but I'm also going to feel it in the ankle on the standing leg. And then I'm keeping that little bend in the knee just so I don't feel any tension there, because your ankles and hips are meant to be really mobile joints, which is why we're warming them up. Knees are more for stability. They don't have a lot of rotational ability side to side, so we really don't want to put that stress on them. We want to warm up the muscles around them so that they can function well. All right, so after you've done 10 to 12 of those, we're going to switch and do that on the other leg. How far you lift your leg side to side is really going to depend on how that hip and ankle feel right now. So if you can't lift as high as I am, no worries. Think about the goal being more that rotation in the ankle and hip. And if that means you need to have a smaller movement right now, that's totally fine. So once you've done 10 to 12 of those, we're going to go back into that moving lunge stretch. So hopefully you can notice the second time round that you feel just a little bit more flexible, but I wouldn't step longer than maybe 3 of your own foot lengths apart just to get the full benefits of this stretch. And then keeping in mind that knee alignment, so I want to make sure the back foot's straight. I want to make sure that the ankle, knee, and hip are in a nice straight line so that I'm stretching the muscles in the position that I want them to work. And then go ahead and let yourself switch sides. Lining up on the second side, I'm going to make sure that that back foot is nice and straight in line with the front foot, and that I've got my hips in a nice straight line with my ankles. And then drawing the belly button in as I lunge forward, as I shift both hips forward together. That should really have me feeling this everywhere in the legs and hips. Stepping the feet side by side again, I'm going to do that leg swing across, and hopefully you'll find that you feel just a little bit more flexible in the hips and in the ankles this time. If you have room, you can focus a little bit on that lift out to the side, and I should feel that kind of inner thigh as well. All right, and then let yourself go ahead and set up on the other side. Remembering to keep that little bend in the knee and letting yourself rotate back and forth. So I know I'm looking at you, but it might actually be more helpful to you to turn your head back and forth. So do whatever you need to make sure you have good balance throughout this. For our last 2 warm-up exercises, I'm going to again step the feet a little wider than the hips and shift side to side. I'm going to have you make sure that both feet are facing straight forward. Draw your belly in a little bit and line your hip up over your ankle as you shift, and then bend the knee. So line the hip up over the ankle and then push the hip back as you bend your knee. Now, if you're starting to feel any tension on the knees, again, walk the feet a little narrower, but I'm hoping that your hips, your ankles, your back, your abs are a little more warmed up so that this is feeling pretty good to you right now. So now I'm going to turn myself to face my chair, and I'm going to place the hands on the chair. So I want the chair back out of the way. So if you think of tabletop position as wrists and ankles right underneath the shoulders and hips, we're going to step just a little bit longer than that. I'm going to draw my belly button in a little bit as I shift forward and make sure my sternum's kind of lining up right between my thumbs. And then I'm going to bend the knees as I push through the fingers and push the hips back. And then push into the heels, pull the shoulders down as I shift my body weight forward. And then if you can give yourself kind of a neutral gaze, looking down between your thumbs without craning or straining your neck, that's really ideal here to make sure that you're stretching things in good alignment. Coming back up, we're going to step a little wider than hip width again and do that shift side to side. So again, I want to make sure that my toes and heels stay nice and straight, but if you find that you can bring the feet just a little bit wider and still get your hip to line up over the ankle as you push your hip back. Excellent. You're really getting warmed up. So I am taking this a little bit deeper the second time round. I'm taking it more into a side lunge. But again, if you're not there, if you feel any stiffness in the knees, make sure you just give yourself a little motion side to side, and then you step a little narrower if you need to keep your knees safe. Remember, just take the variation that you need. This is your warm-up. It should feel good to your body wherever your starting point is today. We're gonna do that modified plank to down dog stretch one more time here. So remembering that I want that a little bit longer than tabletop position as I bend the knees and push through the fingertips. And then I wanna pull the shoulders back and down as I shift myself forward and shift the sternum right between my thumbs. Now, if you have any kind of a wrist issue, you could also do this on the forearms. So as I push the hips back, I'm gonna bend the knees, put some pressure into the balls of the feet so I can really feel that stretch in the lower back and the shoulders. And then as I shift forward, I'm gonna pull the shoulder blades down, push the heels down, and also shift so that I've got the sternum kind of right between the thumbs. And if you have to step a little more forward or a little further back to make this line up for you, definitely do that. Great work today. I hope that warm-up set you up to get more out of your day and your workouts. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, or you can reach out to me if you need a little more one-on-one support through my application in the link in the description. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.